But the fire service exists to serve the public no matter what. We're the backstop for everybody.
Everything.
Whether your house is on fire or you have a leak in a pipe that you
You're
can't
cold.
quite figure it out, we're a lot cheaper than plumbers. So for the guy or girl that's thinking about joining, do it. You're never going to know if you like it or love it by wondering from the outside.
That's right.
Welcome to The Firehouse, the show dedicated to the brave men and women who serve our community.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Firehouse on WRHU 88.7. I am your host, Chris Moses, and today, sitting with me in the Firehouse is my boy, Josh. What's going on, man?
What's going on, Chris? How are you?
I'm good.
Good to see you.
How you feeling?
Good.
All right, so I know who you are, but if you can let our audience know your full name, tell them what department, tell them what ranks, and how long you've been in.
So my name is Josh Ganshaw. I am with the Bethpage Fire Department.
You said it a little bit different. I was saying it's Ganshaw.
Ganshaw, yeah.
Ganshaw. You just the way you said it, it just flowed better. I guess
it flows. I've been saying it for almost 32 years now. Well, maybe a little less. I couldn't speak when I came out, but
all right, go ahead.
So I'm with the Bethpage Fire Department. I've been a full member of the department for almost 14 years now. I was in the juniors 2 years before that.
Okay.
I
so
started.
Bethpage has a juniors.
We have a juniors program. So I was a captain of the juniors. I started leaving that off my resume just a couple of years ago. People don't seem to care anymore. And then I joined in 2011, September 6th. It was actually the same day I started at Hofstra. I started Hofstra and the fire department in the same day.
Look at that.
And yesterday was my 10-year anniversary of graduating.
Look at that. And, congratulations. Congratulations.
So since then, I held the rank of lieutenant, captain, and now I am third assistant chief, or more affectionately called the baby chief.
The baby chief. The baby chief. Yep. So third assistant. So that means y'all have three chiefs there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we got four.
Well, we have four because you have the third,
chief of
second,
department,
first, and then chief of department.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have four chiefs.
Yeah,
wow.
so
Okay.
4 chiefs.
All right. So, Josh, let's start from the beginning. Let's start from the beginning. What makes you say that I want to be a firefighter? So, because you were in the juniors too, so you knew younger that you wanted to do this.
Yeah. So if you ask my parents, it was something that I knew I wanted to do from a very early age. From a little tyke, I would run around in rubber boots. I'd tip my bicycle over on my mom and my dad and pretend to go save them. So it was something that I just had an infatuation with very early on. Okay. As I got older, I made a few friends in high school that were involved in the juniors program with Bethpage. Okay. And I was like, you know what, let's just give it a shot, jump on board. And fell in love with it, as I pretty much expected I would. Yep. And here we are, almost 15 years later since joining the juniors. And it's crazy. I don't know where the time goes, but it's been a lot of fun, and we're having a good time.
So first of all, 15 years. So I know you got some stories for me, Josh, and we're gonna get into those stories, but. As going from the juniors and actually getting into the department, I know you were just like waiting with bated breath, right? Yeah. You were like,
yeah. So it was funny. So my birthday is in the beginning of August, and the department meeting in August of that year was the day before my birthday. And they said they wouldn't be able to bring me in before my 18th birthday. So I had to wait a whole month. And a month doesn't sound like a lot, but when you want to get on the back step, and in that time, I think I missed like one fire in Bethpage, like 2 mutual aids.
Did you go over there anyway and just?
Of course. But it was just like one of those things. It's like, man, I'm just sitting here handing out water bottles when I could be, the can man, doing something. But then I got in September, and it was all good. But it was that 1 month. Obviously, it must have been the busiest month Bethpage ever had.
Like, what is going on? So you said ever since you were younger that you wanted to do this. Was there anyone else that was in? Like, where did it come from, if you remember, or was there anyone, parents or anyone that was in the fire service?
I mean, I'm first generation. In the emergency service world. I think it was just one of those things that obviously they got me fire trucks when I was a little kid, and had fun with them and loved it, and it just kind of, I don't want to use the word spiraled, but it spiraled from there.
You can use that word. Yeah. And every firefighter understands the spiral.
Right, exactly.
The spiral. Yeah. I love that. All right, so you're in now. You're doing your thing. What makes you now want to get into leadership and start hopping in and doing lieutenant, then captain? And you said you were you went through lieutenant. I thought you said you was captain more
I
than
was
once?
a lieutenant. Yeah, I did lieutenant for 5 years, which is lieutenant is the most thankless job in the fire service. You know, you're the first one to get yelled at.
Yeah, I was just gonna
you know, everything is your fault.
Everything.
Everything's your fault as a lieutenant. But you know, I had a lot of really good examples of leadership in my department and in my company, and I kind of wanted to just, you know, try my hand at being successful like they were. I love teaching the young guys, teaching new guys. So the opportunity to kind of get into a leadership role, teach the next generation of how I was brought up in the fire service, get them to a good professional performance level.
Okay.
It was, you know, the best opportunity to get that done.
To get that going. So in Bethpage, how many companies are there?
We have three firehouses, 4 companies.
3. Okay.
So we have in headquarters, we have Ladder Company 3, which I am a member of,
Okay.
and Engine Company 7.
Okay.
Then on the north side, we have Engine and Ladder Company 4, and on the south side, we have Engine Company 5.
Okay. So you're captain of ladder. Then you want to make the crazy jump to be chief.
Yeah. So
where does that happen? Like, why do you say, you know what? Is that more of like that's the next step for me? But what makes you want to do that? Because, you know, before you're just taking care of your company.
Right.
It's a huge difference.
Yep.
So I want you to kind of get into that too, of what is the difference from being leadership in your company to now leadership of the department?
Yeah. So I've said it a few times before, but the going from a line officer or just going to the chief rank is the hardest transition that I've ever experienced in the fire service.
Wow.
You know, maintaining that 30,000-foot view on every incident, whether it's an emergency incident or simply just stuff that goes on around the firehouse, really being almost detached from the inner workings of everything. It's a big change, but it is a great opportunity to learn, to grow, and again to bring the leadership and training to that next level, to kind of be able to offer it to the entire department on a larger scale. But it is a lot of fun. The other 3 guys in the chief's office with me, we all get along very, very well.
That's good.
Which is rare for a chief's office, you know. But the 4 of us, we get along very well. We work very well together, and that has made the transition to the chief's life a lot easier because we have a very good working relationship amongst us.
So I got a question for you. Just, you know, how do you keep that? And before we get into stories, because we're going to get into these stories, but how do you keep that camaraderie, right? You know, when you're in, especially in, you know, the volunteer services, we have I'm ladder and I'm engine and this is my company and that's my company. Now with that sky view, how do you keep everyone together? How do you not have, I mean, you have a little bit of bias. This is my company.
Right.
But how do you not, you know, how do you keep everyone together and let them know, hey, I'm the chief. I'm here for all of you. How do you do that?
So the most important thing is you have to treat everybody with the same amount of equity. You know, you guys say it all the time, you're chief of the department, not chief of a company. And, you know, of course, obviously you go into the chief's office and you're coming out of, you know, I was coming fresh out of the captain's seat. So it's all right, you know, I'm thinking about my company, but it is a big change and an adjustment and something I really tried to work on to focus on the entire department. You know, of course, if my guys need help, I'm there. I'm going to do whatever I need for them. But we have a unique setup in Bethpage where the deputies are all assigned to a firehouse. So my first year, I was assigned to headquarters, which is where my guys were. Okay. But this year, I've been assigned to Engine and Ladder Company 4. And if anybody knows Bethpage, knows that headquarters and Company 4 have a good sibling rivalry going.
Okay.
So it was an adjustment, but all of the officers up at Company 4, I have a very good working relationship with. If they need something, they can reach out. If I have an issue I need to address with them, it's not like we have to beat around the bush. I can call that captain up. Matt is a good friend of mine, and we can just square away whatever it is that we need to.
Just kind of fix it.
So it's It has been an adjustment trying to take things to a department level like that. But I kind of really just take the stuff that I know worked for me as a captain in my company and just try to bring it wherever else I go. And hopefully it's just as
it'll work out.
Successful.
It's funny because they say as chief, and I've never been chief, but all chiefs have told me when you're chief, the hardest company to deal with is your own.
It is 100%. You know,
100%.
All the phone calls, the text messages that really make me pull my hair out. You know,
dude,
come from my own guy.
This is what's going on, Josh.
Right.
What are you gonna do?
Exactly.
We need this.
Exactly. You know, and you know, my wife will see some names pop up on my phone, and she'll just be like, ugh. You know, there's a few people in the entire, you know, fire service that we've met and that she's met. There's only like 3 or 4 that she's actually like, ugh, that guy. You know,
we're not gonna call you guys out, but you know who you are.
That'll be on the post show.
There you go. All right, so listen, Josh, let's get into some of these stories. What stories do you have for me? What do you got?
Yeah. So,
well, you know what? There's one thing that we've been trying to do now on the show is besides the stories that I'm pretty sure you got, if you can remember your first fire.
So the first fire I ever went to.
So if you remember your first fire, that's the first story we're going to start with.
The first fire I went.
A rich and smooth blend of golden grain and single malt with notes of vanilla, honey, and toasted wood. Anything else just wouldn't be proper. Proper number 12, Irish whiskey.
Wilson Lane.
Okay.
And I was a probie. It was October of 2011. You know, been doing all my trainings, and I think it was like a Saturday or a Sunday morning. It was definitely a weekend. So unfortunately, a lot of people were around.
Yeah.
And turned out to the firehouse, got dressed, got on the rig, and you know how it is. Job comes in, everybody shows up. You know,
everybody.
Even the guy who was trying to fill up his cooler for ice. Suddenly, he wants to be a fireman too. You know, and I ended up getting bounced off the rig.
Wow.
And I was livid.
I know you were pissed because everybody's like, probably get up out of here.
Yeah, exactly. So I ended up on the ambulance, and we showed up, and it's like,
I know you are.
I was ready to put the ambulance through the house. Like, the house can't be on fire if there's an ambulance crashed through it. So, but that was my first fire.
Wow.
And I learned a lot after that. So the number one thing I learned is that when you get on the rig, sit in the middle and put your pack
it's
on.
Gonna be too much.
They can't. If you throw me out, I'm taking the pack with me.
There you go. It's
you're
already
not doing
on. I'm already
either.
strapped up.
Exactly.
Just come on. Just come in. We'll squeeze.
You know, there's some guys play dumb, and they're really good at playing dumb too. And they're like, "What do you mean I got to get off the rig? What are you talking about?" So, but yeah, so that was my first fire that I went to, and it was just, you know.
Oh man, that is fine, and I know people can relate with that. I know.
Yeah, nothing is worse than being like, that's it,
sitting on
going to job town.
Like this.
Yeah, exactly. If anybody needs a Band-Aid or a nice cold water bottle, let me know.
All right, so let's get into some more stories. What you got for me?
Yeah,
Josh?
so I think one of the craziest fires that I'd been to was I was a lieutenant, but at the time, the guy that was the captain, he lived a little further away. He was the last guy that came in the door. So I ended up being the boss on the rescue for a fire at the Francesco's Bakery.
Okay.
And a lot of people know about it because we had a little bit of a kind of like a half Mayday situation. We had a guy get turned around, and the guy who did get turned around is extremely experienced, accomplished firefighter. So it really kind of stuck out in a lot of people's heads. One of the biggest things that I think people remember about it is a lot of people were like, well, it was a bakery in the middle of the night. Why would anybody even go in? And people only really see the pictures of when it was chugging, when it was about to flash, and when things really went sideways. But when we pulled up, we were getting numerous reports that the nighttime baker was still inside. We hadn't heard from him. So we're pulling up saying, there's somebody in there.
We got to go, yeah.
We popped the door. And it was a very light, wispy smoke. I mean, I could see every single cake in the display case. Wow. Conditions were fine. We got inside. We started doing our searches. And we get around the counter of the bakery, and it was lights out almost in an instant.
Wow.
And we went a few more feet, and it was going from conditions that were, just lights out conditions to completely untenable. Ridiculously hot. And that's when we were like, we don't even see the doorway to get into the back of this bakery. We gotta,
So before you keep going, we're gonna pick up. What is going through your mind right then when those conditions start to change? What is going through your mind?
What happened? Why did this change as fast as it did? Right? Because anybody that's been in a fire, they understand the natural progression. That all right, conditions are going to start to worsen. They're going to, if you're not getting the water on it.
Yeah.
But for it to go as I don't want to use the word south, but when it progressed as quickly as it did, you're kind of like, what happened? What was that aggravating factor that made this go from, all right, we can see everything clearly, to lights out and stupid hot?
Yeah.
And we found out later on that one of our guys was doing his job. He's the outside vent. He popped the back door because he figured, all right, the nighttime baker is probably towards the back of the store.
Yep.
Let me pop this back door and see if I can make a push, get in there. When he popped that door, the fire was seated in the rear, and he introduced oxygen to it. Again, you know, he's doing his job. He's trying to, you know, get to his
life and property,
objective.
trying to
exactly.
save life.
And that is what just introduced enough oxygen, fresh air to really make everything take off. And we were up front, and it just, like I said, it banked down and it got stupid hot. And we were like, we need to figure something out.
Yeah.
The line wasn't in a position to be able to.
I was going to ask, so where is the line? Like with you,
so
you know, with ladder,
the
you're doing your first rescue.
The engine officer was behind us, and the line was trying to get in, as best I remember. But they would have had to go. There was a single doorway that got to the rear, and I don't know exactly how that rear was laid out. Like, if we got through that door, would he have had, you know, a front row seat to everything? Mm-hmm. But it just, at that point, the line wasn't in a place where it was going to be able to make a positive impact. So we were like, we gotta back up and we gotta reset. As we start backing up, things had started to fall all over, whether it was other guys coming in, and myself and my irons man, we made the left, we got out. The other guy that was with me ended up just kind of getting a little turned around. And he, again, very accomplished fireman, and it was, you know, he came over the radio, and you know a guy needs help when they start using people's first names, right? When they're calling out like, hey, Mike, hey, you know, whatever. That's when it's kind of like, all right, this guy is, you know, really trying to make that connection. Yeah. And fortunately, it was. Did
he call a mayday, or did he just start calling names like, hey, yo, Josh?
I believe he did put the mayday over. And again, thank goodness, Bethpage has a lot of really good experienced guys. We took the front bay windows of the bakery, which in hindsight is something we should have done beforehand, so we could have just given the whole fire a second to breathe, see what it was doing. Yeah. Because when it was all buttoned up like that, everything was fine. Mm-hmm. Took the windows, everything lifted, and he was able to scoot right out. So it was maybe 10 to 30 seconds of what's going on, and then at that point we just went to the tower ladders. And
do you remember what he called on the radio? Like what he said?
Something to the effect that he had gotten turned around real quick, and he just needed help finding his way out. So, you know, you had a couple guys at the front door banging their tools on the ground, calling out to him like, hey, come over this way.
Where is your mind when you hear that? Like, where is your mind? Because that's a scary thing to hear.
So I was a relatively newer officer at the time, a young lieutenant, and it was like,
which actually makes it even worse, right? Because now you're like, I'm in charge. Like, so to hear this, like, what's going through your head?
It was like, we got to go get him. And I remember I crawled between people's legs that were standing at the front door. I crawled under their legs, got back into the front of the bakery just to try to find him. And then eventually they were like, oh, we got him. He's out. So I crawled back out under people's legs. And, you know, the other guy that was with me, the irons man, he was the captain. But like I said, he got there a little later because he lived further away. And we don't like, in our company, we don't like playing that whole musical chairs thing. It's like, if you're in the seat, you're ready to go.
That's it.
Stay there. You're a lieutenant or you're whatever. You're capable. Just, you know, run with it. So him and I tried to get back in. We got back in, and then luckily the other guy got out, and everybody was good. But you know, a lot of really good lessons learned from that. Like I said, you know, taking the plate windows, let it breathe for a second, see what it does. You know, making sure that the line is 100% ready to go with you, that they're right behind you. That way, if stuff does start going a little sideways, you have them in place to, you know, at least kind of set up that defensive operation as you, you know, make a tactical retreat.
All right. I hear that. So let's, we're going to come back to some more stories, but let's switch gears a little bit because I want to talk about you're in, assume off probation. Because your actual job, you're an officer.
Correct.
So where does that come in, and why go that route, right? My question would be, is you're in the fire service, why not FDNY? Why did you go NYPD? You know this question was coming, right?
Yeah.
So why? What made you want to take that step that way?
Yeah, so, I mean, anybody that...
In the heart of Blue Point, New York, the Johnny Mac Foundation stands as a beacon of hope and resilience. Founded in memory of FDNY firefighter John F. McNamara, who lost his life to 9/11 related cancer, this foundation embodies his enduring motto, whatever it takes. To supporting first responders and their families, the Johnny Mac Foundation is committed to making a long-lasting impact. Join us in honoring John's legacy and making a difference. Visit at johnnymacfoundation.org to learn more and contribute.
Yeah, so, I mean, anybody that's ever stepped foot in a firehouse knows that you're constantly being told, take the test, take this, take that, that test.
Yeah.
And I took the NYPD test. I took every test. And FDNY being one of the most competitive tests out there. I just didn't have good enough days on those civil service days. But the NYPD, I did all right. It was, they went through the whole process. And at the time, there was another really good friend of mine. We were both going through the process. We took the test on the same day. We got the exact same score.
That's nice. That's always good to have someone to be with.
And I had a list number like 200 people ahead of him. So he got nervous that he did something wrong. And I just told him that it's because I finished the test 20 minutes before him. And but
first.
So we went through the whole process together, and then I got on the NYPD, and it's been a roller coaster for sure.
I can imagine.
And
how long you been on?
July will be 7 years.
Wow. Okay.
And it feels like 7 years. And but I've had an enjoyable career there. I started off in Brooklyn, in East New York. Spent some time at headquarters, and now I am working overnights up in the Bronx.
Okay. All right. So I got to ask the question. 7 years. So that means that you were there during COVID.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. I was there through COVID.
You're also in Bethpage during COVID.
Yeah.
Josh, how do you do this? You are here where I know everything is going crazy, especially that March, April, May, at May, June, July, all during that when it was all new. Like, how are you dealing with Bethpage? And were you chief at the time, or were you just captain?
I was a lieutenant at the time.
Lieutenant. Yeah. So you're lieutenant here. You're officer here. Yep. How are you able to do it all? Like.
Well, I mean, my commute time was cut down. It was fantastic. I was able to get to work in 20 minutes.
Yeah,
so it gave me a lot more time for everything else.
Nobody was out.
But it was interesting. We were doing 12-hour tours in the city, and it was no days off. So, I mean,
wow.
We were, when it first started, we were, it was just crazy. But I had a good group of guys at work that made everything bearable. Yeah. And in reality, they were very good at filtering out the nonsense that was coming over 911 in the city, because we had to do so many other things. And the best thing to happen for crime is COVID, because everybody stayed.
Everybody's in the house.
Nobody was outside. Nobody wanted to do anything,
but sit in the house.
Exactly, sit in the house. So domestics went up.
It's so funny. I was going to ask that. I'm like, I can imagine domestics went up.
Yeah, so those went up, and that was a little bit easier, because we would show up and they'd be like, everybody like, no, it's COVID. They would just do the paperwork quick and we'd be gone, And it was nice, the outpouring support for the NYPD during the initial COVID era. I mean, you couldn't walk into work without somebody dropping off a box of snacks, hot food,
something,
all that kind of stuff. So that was good. And then
how about Bethpage side? Like
on the Bethpage side, it was also a lot less calls. So we had set up duty crews to try to reduce the amount of
people
exposure. Mm-hmm. We were getting a lot of COVID calls, whether they were actually COVID related or not. We were getting a lot of COVID calls, and we would try to filter them out. The duty crews would respond on that. That way, if we had any exposure, we weren't taking out a whole company or like 3 or 4 guys on the ambulance. We tried to really limit it as much as possible, which was good, because then the guys that were working crazy hours or had, those essential worker jobs that were being heavily taxed from all of the time they had to spend at their job, they could come home and be like, all right, I'm not on duty crew. I don't have to worry about my pager going off. It's those guys got it. I'm going to take my time to recharge. Yeah. Which is good.
So I gotta ask a question, because being in NYPD, being in Bethpage, especially around those times too, it's a lot taxing, like mentally taxing, right? So how do you deal with that? I can imagine the things you've seen, right? NYPD, this is New York. Right. You see some things, right? Same thing, Bethpage. I'm pretty sure you've seen some things. So how do you deal with that, the mental aspect, the mental health part of it?
So I'm glad you brought up the word mental health, because it's something that, a lot of the emergency services we kind of like brush over.
Yep, because we're the big macho beat on your chest guys. Yep.
We're the guys and gals that show up and solve problems. We're not supposed to have them. So personally, for me, during that time, I just spent a lot of time to reflect. It would take drives. There was no traffic. So I would go check out the sights and sounds of Long Island. I drove out to Montauk a couple times and just, took some time to really recharge, refresh, and just appreciate everything that was going on around me. But on a bigger scale, we encourage guys to take that time for themselves as well. We have a lot of great resources in the county for mental health. Yep.
And we were actually talking off air about that. So if you could talk a little bit about that and talk about what, the different, I guess, I don't want to say committees, but different things that you're doing when it comes to mental health.
So one of the previous guests that you had on your show, Willie from Carl Place.
Yep. Willie Gaddish. What's up, Willie? How you feeling, buddy?
And when we were both line officers or captains in our respective departments, we had talked a lot about the mental health situation, and we were trying to get a 9th Battalion mental health group going, and it kind of graduated to the fact that Willie and I are now working with the Nassau County Critical Incident Team. We're both trying out for that, and those guys are great. The guy that runs it over there, Steve Marsaw, you can call him up, text him anytime, night or day, and he can get you a team really quick. We've had a few instances in Bethpage over the past couple of years where we needed a team, and I think from the time that we reached out to the team to the time that they were in the firehouse was maybe not even 2 hours, and and they're great. They're not overbearing. They come in, they really just teach these guys, young and old, because obviously everybody, the fire service is a spectrum of people, how to identify some of the more concerning aspects of the mental health response, but even more so to teach them how to deal with it for themselves, whether it's talking to buddies that were there, figuring out how to safely and more healthily engage themselves in their hobbies, really just so we don't see that burnout like we may have in previous years, or guys turning to less favorable habits that don't help them get better but actually make them worse. We're trying to steer them in a more positive direction.
That's good. That is great. That is great. So is there any way that people, any websites or anything like that we want to kind of shout out and let people know?
So, I mean, if a guy needs help, they can reach out to the Nassau County Critical Incident Team. You can either go to your chiefs, your officers. The way to activate the team is through FireCom. And those guys are great. If you need additional resources, they have that whole list. I regrettably don't have all of that stuff.
That's fine. But
they're great. They're great with all of the resources. They can point guys in the right direction. Even just if they go online and look up,
that's what I was going to say.
They could look up like a therapist and stuff like that. There's a lot of great people out there that do a really good job. I mean, that's what my wife does. My wife is a therapist.
Okay. And, shout out your wife. What's her name?
Michelle.
Michelle. What's going on, Michelle?
She's a big component for not opponent.
She's not
she's not an opponent of mental health. She's big into the
component.
mental health, and she really offers me a lot of insight when we talk about this kind of stuff. She has a lot of great colleagues, and they're all really good at dealing with trauma response and all that kind of stuff. So they're out there, and they're great for guys. Even if you go for a couple sessions and just talk, and it's good to get whatever you need off your chest to somebody that's completely unbiased, and maybe even better that somebody doesn't understand the fire service.
There you go. Yeah, because they're looking at it from a different lens.
Exactly.
All right. So before we get into another story, I got another question for you. What is a common myth that you would want to debunk about firefighting right now?
You can fancy yourself an expert, or you can fancy yourself a king. We'll just go fancy ourselves another glass of proper, rich and smooth, proper number 12 Irish whiskey.
That we go to a lot of fires.
Okay, explain.
So, we talked about off air, we talked about like recruitment, retention and stuff like that.
Yep.
And, we see a lot of really great recruitment videos, the rah-rah, like, going after it, getting it done. But, you don't go to a ton of fires. You go to maybe 10 or 15 fires a year, but that doesn't mean that you don't get to really make a positive impact. We do a lot of EMS in the fire service.
Mm-hmm.
Some people hate it, some people love it. And then I'd say the rest of the bell curve is kind of in between. We do it. It is what it is. But the fire service exists to serve the public no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
We're the backstop for everybody.
Everything.
Whether your house is on fire or you have a leak in a pipe that you
You're
can't
cold.
quite figure it out. We're a lot cheaper than plumbers. So, but the fire service, as fun as it is when you have your fires and you have your major emergencies and stuff like that, the biggest component of the fire service right now is that EMS side. And
That's right.
in my experience, there are few things in life or in the fire service where you can see such an immediate result of your efforts than from like that EMS side. So if you're looking at the fire service and you're maybe hesitant because of the EMS side, you're going to go to your fires, don't get me wrong, but that EMS side is just
huge.
as important. And it's a great way to contribute to your community. So even though we tell you you're going to go to a ton of fires, you're going to be a hero every single day.
There's actual people that go to these
right,
calls
exactly.
and become heroes every day.
You might not do heroics every day, but you're going to be an everyday hero by serving in that different capacity. You go to your fires still. Don't worry.
Don't worry about it.
You're going to go to
jobs. You're still going to get some jobs.
Not as many as some people promise you that you will.
All right, keep going about these stories. Talk about fires. What other stories do you got for me, Chief?
So. Let's see. Trying to think of. So you had Kenny Gass on a couple episodes ago.
Yep.
And we went to. He had the infamous Jamaica ash fire.
Yes.
On Cinco de Mayo, and we pulled up, and you could see it from miles away. We're coming down Old Country Road, and I remember we pulled up, and the rig's getting in position. And I walked up to the, I wasn't the officer for that one, but I walked up to the command post with one of the chauffeurs. We were just checking in. And the guy turned to Kenny and goes, "Chief, you're not putting this out tonight, right?" And Kenny goes, yeah, no, I know. He goes, you're not putting this out tomorrow either, right? And so.
You're in there.
Yeah, we were in there. And it was me and a buddy of mine, Richie. We were up in the bucket. And, we're just. It felt like we were peeing in the ocean, but it was. The whole place was going. It was garbage everywhere, and you got your hood tucked up over our nose because we're like, you don't want to breathe this stuff in. Why bring a pack up there with you?
Right.
But so that was just one of those things where it was just. We were there for probably 4 or 5 hours. We come down. There's 3 feet of water that we got to wade through to get back into the rig, and then we left, and we're like. We got relieved, we got swapped out, and we're like, man, this place is just as much on fire as it was when we got here. Like, what do we even do? So that was an interesting one. And we went up to a fire in Roslyn, and it was bitter cold. We just finished up at the Buff Show a couple years ago, and it was bitter cold. It was maybe in the teens, the 20s, and we got there the second round of relief, so they had already been going after it for a couple hours, and everything was icy. I mean, you just see guys just sliding across in the parking lot. You know, the North Shore is nice and hilly.
Yeah.
So we were getting the rig
easier to slide.
Yeah. We're getting the rig in position, and the guy that was driving, you know, experienced chauffeur, everything, and I mean, he was just inching, but the rig was just sliding. And we're trying to throw down as much speedy dry sand, anything we could find to put down, and eventually we got in the got in position, but it was just a bitter cold, you know, one of those ones where like you just see icicles hanging off of everybody. And you know, it was, you know, if anybody wants to go to a midwinter surround and drown, they can have it.
They can have it at any time. All right, so let's keep going here. You know what we can get into? We can get into the flash over, all right? All right,
okay.
Chief, we can get into the flashover. So the flashover is I'll ask you a couple of questions, maybe Android and Apple. I've been asking that question lately.
Okay.
Android or Apple? Which
Apple.
One? You're an Apple
100%.
guy. I'm an Android guy. Everybody knows that. It's all right. Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, you'll be okay. One day you'll come over to our house.
Yeah, maybe not. You know.
All right. So in the flashover, what I'll do is I'll ask you Android or Apple. You have to give me the answer really quick. Okay. All right. So are you ready?
I am.
Are you ready,
go.
Chief? Let's get into the flashover. So we're going to do some TV shows. We'll do some movies.
Okay.
And then we have some questions on the side, okay?
Okay.
All right. So let's start with the flashover. Are you ready, Chief?
I am. Let's go.
All right. Let's do it. Brush fire or rocking dumpster fire?
Oof.
Which one we going?
I'll go with the dumpster fire because it's not going anywhere.
Because it's not going anywhere.
It's not going
right.
anywhere.
That's right.
You know?
All right. Basement fire or warehouse fire?
Basement fire.
Basement fire. Why?
Warehouse fires are a lot more difficult to contain. Right. You know, they're you know. All fire is scary. All fire is scary, but it's just one of those things that you really got to get ahead of it, and probably by the time you're getting there, you're probably already behind it.
Yeah, that's so true. All right, you're at a parade, Chief. You drive the rig, or you driving the chief truck?
I'm walking.
I mean, you're probably gonna have to walk.
I'm walking with the men.
But you're walking with
I'm
the
walking
men.
with the men.
All right, so since you said that, walking with the guys, it's 100-degree Class A, or you're the baby chief. So chief of the department says, hey, just go do the calendar photo shoot, or do you want to walk with us?
We're walking with the men, and we're walking in Class Bs. We're not doing – I don't care if it's a judge parade. Bethpage hasn't won a trophy for a parade in years. So
Class B, everybody's
going Class B, because I don't want to have to do line of duty paperwork for a guy passing out of the parade.
That is so true. All right, let's keep going. You know what? Let's ask a quick question. I don't know if you want to answer this one, all right? Are you ready?
I am.
Suspended or not? I'm going to
ask you.
No, I'm going to ask you the question. But the topic is suspended or not.
Okay.
You're the chief. At a call. Complete fist fight at the call. 2 firefighters. What do we do? Suspended or not?
Oh, man. So this is where I have to give the lame chief answer and say, find out what happened first.
There we go.
Because sometimes the best way to settle it is through intimate means like that,
That is a chief answer, and
I
love it. No, I love it. I love it. That's the chief answer.
I mean, we got to figure out what happened first,
Okay.
I mean, if they're fighting over a legitimate reason, all right, then maybe if it's settled, then it's settled.
Okay.
If they're fighting over something silly, then all right, we might have to start maybe somebody's taking a vacation. But
all right,
yeah.
One more question: suspended or not? They are at the firehouse, whatever company you want to pick, and you know how we are at the firehouse. And for whatever reason, you get the call, you come up, and both windows right in front of the firehouse are completely shattered. Both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Suspended or not?
Finding a third window and putting their head through it. No, that was a joke.
Yeah,
but
now you know for a fact it is horse playing, them acting stupid. Someone got a pike pole and decided to try to be a Jedi, and they're doing this. What are we doing? Suspended or not? Chief?
Yeah, that they're probably gonna have to take a little vacation.
You're gonna take a little vacation.
Yeah, the volunteer is not gonna be allowed to volunteer for a little bit.
All right, let's keep going. Chief. All right, confirmed car fire or automatic alarm with a light smoke condition?
Confirmed car fire.
Confirmed car fire?
Yeah. We like to joke around. We call them working car fires, But I'll go with the car fire.
Going with the car fire. Okay. All right. At an installation dinner, Chief, Do you sit with the commissioners? You have to pick one. You cannot sit with the chiefs, cannot sit with Black Shields or all the guys. You got to pick one. Sitting with the commissioners, sitting with the probies.
Sitting with the probies.
Sitting with the probies.
Yeah, it's a good way to talk to the next generation and, sit with the probies.
And still sit with the probies. All right, I love it. All right, so I need you to put on your captain's hat when you were captain, all right? The chief tells you there is a department critique that is happening at 10 o'clock. It is 8 o'clock. All your guys are there. Okay? You have 2 hours. Do you have them clean the firehouse or do you do another training?
Do another training.
Do another training.
Yep.
Get that training.
Yep.
Clean the house when we get to it.
Exactly.
Let's get that, and then we'll go to the critique. All right, now let's get into some TV shows and movies.
Okay.
All right? Here's the good part. All right, are you ready?
I am.
Chicago Fire, Rescue Me.
Rescue Me. Chicago Fire's banned in Bethpage. Not allowed to watch it in the Firehouse.
Not allowed to watch.
Not allowed to. Sorry, I know whoever.
Sorry, they'll be
that,
okay.
but,
They'll be okay.
Yeah.
Severai will be all right. They'll be okay.
But yeah, Rescue Me every
Rescue
time.
Me. All right, so Rescue Me, third watch.
Rescue Me.
Rescue Me again.
Every time, yep.
Every single time. All right. Backdraft, Ladder 49.
Ladder 49.
All right. You got to tell me why. Why
because
Ladder 49?
that was the first fire service movie I ever watched. So I've seen Backdraft, of course, but Ladder 49 was the first one that I ever watched. So, it was, I fell in love with that one.
Fell in love with
exactly,
it. That became your Bible first.
Yep.
And I like that one. It's a little more realistic, a little bit. I mean, some of it's still a movie, but it's still. Okay. All right. So, last question I'm going to ask you today, Chief. And this is we do know that you're a ladder guy, but you are the chief, so you've seen it all.
Yep.
You got to answer this question. Most important question I'm asked today. Engine or truck?
Truck.
All the way. We're going truck.
But I do like getting on the engine.
Okay.
I've driven the engine a bunch. We had a good car into a building that caught on fire.
Okay.
I happened to be driving for an automatic alarm before then. Ended up pulling up, driving the engine.
Have you ever got to take a hose line in before?
Yeah, once or twice. But it was fun driving. I am admittedly not the best chauffeur. So I turned to the captain. I was like, "What am I going to pump you guys at?" He's like, "Just hit the preset, and we'll tell you from there."
We'll tell you.
Like,
from
all right,
there.
let's go.
I tell people as an engine guy, sometimes and a lot of the times, it is more intense outside pumping than it actually is inside.
Yeah, the
when
first
you become
five,
a chauffeur, you're like.
It's 5 minutes of chaos and then an hour of boredom.
That's it.
But it's that's the most important position.
Huge. So, all right. So, I got a couple more questions for you, Chief.
Sure.
In a whole, how has being a volunteer firefighter? How has that changed your life?
It has definitely made me go into every other situation or deal with other challenges in life. Much more calm, right? Because at the end of the day, the house isn't on fire, right? If you're trying to figure out what to do in a certain scenario in a professional setting, well, at least the place isn't on fire.
That's right.
So it's taught me a lot about leadership, taught me a lot about decision making and, making calculated risks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's really helped kind of, forge my decision-making process into what it is today.
And it also puts you into, what you're doing for a living. Just just doing that. So talking about that real quick, I want a quick sidebar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Quick sidebar. I'm not sure when this will air, but being in NYPD, are you ready for if the Knicks win?
No.
Are you ready for what it's going to look like in the city?
So I was working what they played Friday night, right?
Yep.
So I was working Friday night. I was up in the Bronx and the Knicks won.
Insanity.
Yeah, and they called what's called a level 4 mobilization. A level 4 mobilization, for those that aren't in the NYPD, it's 1 sergeant and 8 cops per command. So from every single precinct, transit district,
everyone has
citywide has to send 1 sergeant and 8 cops.
Wow.
So that's a lot of cops. And
it's gonna be crazy, Josh.
It is. Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. And I don't know when, the next game is, but maybe I'll take off.
Yeah, you might.
I feel like I'm getting
take
sick.
off and kind of hang out,
but
run some calls at Bethpage.
Yeah,
it's gonna be insanity.
Yeah, it's gonna be insane. I mean, we're rooting for the Knicks. Hopefully they can bring it home. But, you know.
We're not rooting for the insanity.
Yeah, it's, you know, I don't know. Maybe it's going to be like Philly. They're going to have to start greasing the light poles and stuff like that, you know.
I have to do this. Guy's up on everything.
Yeah.
So the guy up on like the TV all the way at the top.
Unbelievable.
I don't even get up there. It's insane. All right. So last question that I have for you, Chief, is if there is someone right now that is listening and is thinking about joining, or the person that is in and they've been in for maybe, you know, a month or two, what type of advice would you want to give them?
So for the guy that or girl that's thinking about joining, do it. You're never going to know if you like it or love it by wondering from the outside.
That's right.
Get involved. Check it out. And most fire departments nowadays are open to anybody coming in, working with your work schedule, your lifestyle to make sure that you can succeed in the department. You know, the fire service is decreasing much quicker than it's increasing.
Yes.
And
can you give me that stat that we talked about?
Yeah. So that article that we were talking about, it was the fire service is decreasing at a rate 115% faster than it's increasing. So for every 100 people we get in the fire service nationwide, we lose 115. And like I said, I went to school for business, but I was a marketing major, so I wasn't a numbers business guy. So that math isn't mathing. You know, that means we're decreasing at a pretty significant rate. And so if you're interested, just get on board. If it's not for you, it's not for you. You know, it's not a life sentence. Check it out. And for the people that are in and kind of wondering if it's for them, talk to your officers, talk to the other guys. Maybe there's a different role that you could fill in the department. You know, if you're from a department that has multiple companies, maybe there's a different company that you jive with a little bit better, that your goals align better with that company's goals and their objectives. So it's one of those things that, even though it seems like such a niche thing to get involved in, it really is a good opportunity for anybody to jump on board with.
I love it. All right. Before we get out of here, I got to ask a question. You're a little bit into cinematography, right?
Yeah, I dabble.
I dabble and stuff. So tell us a little bit about that, because I was looking things up and I saw a little Josh G Media kind of thing going. So what's that?
When I have time, which isn't a lot, I like to play around with. I have a Canon camera, and I like to play around with like some recruitment stuff. I've done a couple of recruitment videos.
Great videos. I saw a couple of them.
And a couple of the young guys have really helped me out with that stuff. But then I also like to just play around with different lighting techniques. Stuff that when I'm sitting in traffic on the way to the Bronx or home from the Bronx, just thinking about like very simple, like maybe 10-second concepts of putting out there, and just kind of playing around with that. So I don't have a lot of time, but the time I do have, I like to play around with that and see what stories I can kind of tell through
the lens,
the cinematic lens.
There you go. I love it. Listen, Chief.
Chris, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for coming down. Is there anything that I'm forgetting? Anything that I'm forgetting that you want to bring up before we get out of here?
No, I think we're good. I mean, I think, that we covered quite a bit in a little bit of time. And, it's great that you're doing this show and bringing more positivity and, really kind of giving people a good looking glass into the fire service from all different ranges.
Thank you. So. Listen, I hope you all enjoyed that. I really did. We just heard from my boy Chief Josh Ganshaw, and that is from the Bethpage Fire Department, about his life as a firefighter. I hope you all enjoyed this conversation. Please like, share, subscribe, do all of those things. I am your host, Chris Moses, and please tune in next week to another great conversation in the Firehouse.